Okay, our runners are off. Any desync issues that you may be experiencing will be shortly remedied as our runners both get into the land of Holodrum, which is where Oracle of Seasons takes place. Link does not find himself in Hyrule this time around. He's instead transported to a new land where he's found by the red-headed girl Din, who is our main girl for the game. Not Zelda. One of the few times that we have another girl. But the start of the game, in traditional introductory fashion, has a lot of text smashing, couple of cutscenes, introducing us to what's going to be the overarching story plot for the game. Din is the Oracle of Seasons, and she, right now, is about to get kidnapped in the middle of a nice little dance she was doing with Link. Not ideal, not great, as a tornado comes ripping through, throwing villagers left and right, knocking Link out, and taking Din away. This tornado is actually a man, a very large man named General Onyx, who has decided to capture Din to throw the land of Holodrum all out of order. He's going to sink the Temple of Seasons as well in an effort to basically make everything go haywire. The main gimmick that the game sort of revolves around is the use of seasons to change the landscape as Link progresses through and block off and reveal certain areas during different seasons. So our goal as Link, as always, end goal, is to save the girl, restore order to the land, and defeat General Onyx. And to do so, we're going to need some assistance from our sort of guide for the game, our version of Navi. But first, we need to go pick up our sword. So you're going to see as our runners move from zone to zone, the seasons will change with sort of ridiculous variance as they enter into the Hero's Cave here to pick up the sword. This is your very basic introduction to Zelda mechanics here. Pushing block, walking over pathways to make sure you don't fall and die, and getting hit by a lot of keys. Because if there's one thing this game has a lot of, it's keys. So many keys. None of them ideal. None of them fun. Terrible. What you're seeing there from both Stanner and now Giselle is a save and quit, where the runners do a save and continue and then a soft reset by pushing A, B, start, and select at the same time, which teleports them back to the dungeon. You're going to see this plenty of times throughout the run. It allows the runners to just cover ground more quickly in specific areas. Stanner right now with the slight lead as he picks up the level 1 sword. This level 1 sword is actually made of wood. And we're not going to get the level 2 sword until a little bit after Dungeon 5. So to put things into perspective, everything that we're going to do for the first 5 dungeons is all done with a wooden sword. So I'm not sure what that says about how tough Onyx's monsters are, how tough these enemies are in general, but certainly something to consider, how durable these enemies are. The town season, as you can see from both runners here, gets randomized when they go through. Neither runner getting winter, which is the best season that you can get in the town, is not winter. Because when winter happens in town, it spawns a number of large snow piles that the runners would have to walk around in order to get to the Maku tree. Most runners will reset this season by leaving and returning back to avoid dealing with winter, because it's very slow. But they go wake up the Maku tree, get a little rundown of the situation, and pick up the Dungeon 1 key from the Maku tree, and can now head to the first dungeon, the Gnarled Root dungeon. As always with Zelda engineering, you put a key into a rock and you raise a tree out of the ground. So our dungeon 1 is your very basic Zelda dungeon. Nothing too terribly complex or difficult going on here. Just sort of getting you familiar, comfortable with the game, how it's going to work throughout the duration. We are going to add a little bit of complexity here as we pick up the boss key at the end. But up until that point, pretty straightforward. You're also going to see a number of these minecarts across the game. Just a little bit of time for Link to kick back, throw up his feet, swing his sword at some keys so they can be punished for all the terrible, terrible things that they're going to do to you later on in the run. And not really have to worry about, you know, losing time by swinging your sword. The layout for Dungeon 1 is identical to that of the layout of Dungeon 1 from the first Zelda game, from way on back. Many of you that have seen Seasons runs before on this channel, the Seasons races, probably have been told about how Seasons started out as a Zelda 1 remaster or remake at the beginning of its development, and that's altered during production, but some of the remnants of that original design intention are going to be found throughout the entirety of the game, most notably with this first dungeon, giving both its layouts and the first boss as well. Stanner, fighting the first mini-boss, the Goria brothers, like to walk around, throw a boomerang at you. It is possible to use the bomb to get a double hit on the Goria brothers, which allows you to get a much quicker kill. Neither runner able to get in it, neither runner able to get it, but still not falling too hard in the fight. And picking up the dungeon item, the Seed Satchel. The Seed Satchel comes with Ember Seeds, but we will be picking up a number of extra seeds as we progress forward. Different kinds of seeds that all have their own unique ability. Oracle of Ages, despite being the general counterpart to Seasons, did not also start out as a Zelda 1 remake, so it does not have those same similarities. Instead, Ages ended up absorbing a lot of the components of a third Oracle's game that was planned and had started development but was scrapped very early on. It's going to be called, I believe, Oracle of Secrets. And whereas Oracle of Seasons stars Din as its main heroine, Ages has Nehru. The third game, Secrets, was going to be Faror. But that game got scrapped, and a lot of its components got wrapped up into Oracle of Ages. You just saw our Dungeon 1 boss, Aquamentus, getting killed very cleanly by Stanner. I believe both Gesellschaft and Stanner are performing a Dungeon 1 manipulation to ensure that Aquamentus does not charge at us. We'll find out as they step out of the dungeon and into town whether or not they are going to be on the manipulation. After they got the boss key, you would have seen both of them do a hard reset, which is the equivalent of powering off the console and turning it back on. Doing so resets your RNG value to a set point that the runners can make themselves aware of by swinging their sword forward to get one of three tones, a high tone, a middle tone, or a low tone. By recognizing those tone patterns, the runners can swing their sword and manipulate how enemies are going to spawn, how certain items can drop, and how the enemies are how bosses can behave. Both getting fall in the town, which could mean that they're both on manipulation. Looks like Stanner is on manipulation. No, my apologies. He may be on a different manipulation, one that I'm not familiar with. Giselle on a manipulation that I am familiar with. Stanner already having 10 rupees. You're going to see Giselle here, if she has kept her manipulation, burning these signs in order to get 5 rupees each. So our first sign, there you go, 5 rupees. As they're now playing hide and seek with the Subrosian girl, Rosa, who has 2 patterns for each of these screens, a quick pattern and a slow pattern. Part of the manipulation is ensuring that she gives us a fast pattern. Gesellschaft keeping on her manipulation. Stanner, just you can tell by the number of times that he's swinging his sword right now that he is not bothered by the idea of manipulation at all. And is going to head into the underworld of Subrosia. Subrosia serves, as I said before, as a sort of underworld to the overworld that is Holodrum, where you find a number of these robed individuals called Subrosians hanging out in this very volcano-esque, lava-filled world. If you make your way to a little bit of a detour, you can find some Subrosians dancing, you can find them bathing in lava, doing a whole bunch of different work. Living the good life, enjoying the heat. But we don't care about all that. Link doesn't need to dance. Link needs to go and save the world. And to do that, he needs to pick up our main item, more or less, for the run. This is the sort of season's unique item that we're going to use to manipulate the world around us, change the seasons so that we can progress in a preferable manner. The Rod of Seasons. So the Rod comes depowered. It has no powers initially. So we need to collect, we need to go to each of the 4 seasonal towers and pick up the gem of each season. At the start of the run, only the winter tower is available to us. So you're going to see both of our runners go in and pick up winter. When our runners have winter, they'll be able to hop up on top of any of those stumps. You saw Stanner swinging his sword there earlier on when he was with Rosa. And change the season to winter. When winter is activated, you will see lakes freeze over, you will see small snow piles that you can dig up, large snow drifts that you can walk on top of and can block certain pathways, and also the withering of trees that sort of shrinks them down so that Link can walk. We're going to be using all of these to progress forward to get towards Dungeon 2. Both runners very close here. Giselle just a few seconds behind, getting a little bit of a chat with the Mockery Tree, as the Mockery Tree says, "Whoa, you got the Rod of Seasons in winter? That's awesome. Go to Dungeon 2. We're going to be making a number of trips to Subrosia, obviously, because we're going to need to come back to get the other 3 seasons as we progress. And we have a couple of extra trips that we're going to be making as well. So long as Giselle's kept her manipulation thus far, she will be continuing a manipulation all the way through about a third of the way through Dungeon 2. Stanner changing into winter, you see that lake freeze over so he can just walk right on by. This tree as well that he walks by, when it's not winter, does block your path. Ooh, I am not sure whether or not Stanner is on his own manipulation or if he's gotten very good luck with his moblin spawns here. But Stanner changing it back to winter again and just climbing and falling down a chimney. And what do you do when a stranger falls down your chimney? You give them a shovel and tell them to dig up your snow. That's it. That's what you do. That's the rational response. It's a reasonable response. So that's what we do. We dig up the front and we just carry on. And we get to keep our nifty little shovel because apparently she doesn't want it back. So it all works out. Stanner here picking up the second set of seeds that we received during the run, the mystery seeds. The mystery seeds are only used technically twice, although only necessary for 1 point in the run. That does not occur until after Dungeon 5. But outside of that 1 use, you should not really see the mystery seeds being used unless a mistake has been made by one of the runners. Gain a key drop from these ropes. Doing a save and quit. Stanner on his way now to pick up the dungeon item. Definitely not on any sort of manipulation here, as he has been hit a number of times. But getting very good moblin placements in that room, all things considered. When you're not on a manipulation, those moblins can be a huge pain and just make it very difficult for you to hit them. So Stanner getting very good moblin RNG there. Giselle seems to have lost her manipulation and gain a little bit. Oh, not too unlucky with the moblins there. Not quite as lucky as Stanner, but still not bad at all. Stanner now, having wrapped around the outside of the dungeon, is now in this bombable room, more or less. The chest that you see in the center there is on a timer, but that timer is very, very, what's the word? Lenient. You can miss 2 full bomb throws without any real concern. I think Giselle may have done a save and quit without the save part of the save and quit, as she is, yeah. So she accidentally reset her game without saving, so she has to return back to the moblin room to pick up the bracelet once again. Luckily, again, not getting too bad of RNG from the moblins there, but very, very unfortunate for her. It is easy to end up resetting without saving if you're trying to go too fast. Sometimes you need to slow down a little bit to ensure your safety and make sure you don't end up duplicating any action later on in the game. Stanner now making his way forward, heading towards the Dungeon 2 mini-boss. In this side-scroller area, there was the side-scroller that you saw in Dungeon 1, where Link picked up the Seed Satchel. Reminiscent, again, of the Zelda 1 side-scrollers where you would pick up items. But unlike Zelda 1, the side-scrollers here can get a little bit more complex and convoluted, and require a lot more action, jumping, and the like. Stanner now going to enter into the Dungeon 2 mini-boss Facade, and this is where you see one of the reasons that the runners run Japanese seasons as opposed to English seasons. So in the Japanese version of the game, Facade's hitbox spawns as you enter into the room. However, Facade doesn't spawn until you enter the bottom half of the room. So if you just throw your bombs where Facade would spawn without ever going to the bottom half of the room, you can kill Facade with your 5 bomb throws and never see Facade. That glitch is Japanese only. So if you are playing the game casually through on English and you try to do the same thing, you will find yourself out of bombs very quickly. It's one of a number of reasons that we run Japanese. The other reasons being, obviously, as with a lot of speed games, Japanese text is a lot quicker than English text. I believe just the intro cutscene, those first 2.5 minutes, are about 4 seconds faster in Japanese over English. And also, the save and quits for Japanese are a bit faster. In the English version of the game, you have to stop and wait for the comm screen to come up and cycle through the entire way, as opposed to Japanese where you can just skip right by it. Stanner picking up the boss key and making his way now to the Dungeon 2 boss, which is, of course, a friendly neighborhood Dodongo. Not a king Dodongo, not a super Dodongo, just a Dodongo. Just a Dodongo who isn't great at fighting, you know? Dodongo has 2 moves. Dodongo runs in a straight line, charging for you. You just move up out of the way. Or Dodongo just opens his mouth and tries to shoot fireballs at you, but takes a long time to charge up, which is just the perfect amount of time for you to throw a nice little bomb in there, make him puff up and throw him into spikes. Do that 4 times, and your Dodongo is Gagongo? The easy joke, the common joke, the meme joke is Dodongo, but We're trying new things. Stanner making good work of Dodongo and getting his way out of Dungeon 2. We're gonna see here, I believe Stanner will not be going for any... No, he will not. So there are a couple of different overarching routes that the players can take. One of them, neither the player took, called the Power Ring route, where you manipulate Maple after Dungeon 1 to get a ring. There is another called the Heart Ring route, more or less, where after Dungeon 2 you manipulate Maple to get a different ring. And then there is the ringless route, where you just don't get any rings and continue forward. We'll see whether or not Giselle ends up picking up the Heart Ring or is just going to go ringless. I know in her previous tournament match she did pick up the Heart Ring, so I would not be surprised to see her pick it up once again. Unfortunately for one of our, due to technical difficulties, the audio for Stanner is not available. Hence why you are hearing Giselle's audio, just Stanner currently being in the lead. Giselle, doing a hard reset, is going to be doing the Heart Ring manipulation. So she does a hard reset to set her RNG to a predictable value, swings her sword forward a number of times to ensure that she's on the right RNG, and now is going to pick up a ring from Maple, that ring in the bottom right corner there. Stanner, meanwhile, just beat up a penguin in a boxing match so that he could get a pair of boxing gloves. He's going to get those boxing gloves and take them to a kangaroo right now. That kangaroo's name is Ricky, and after giving Ricky his gloves, he will give us a flute that we will be able to use to call him, where he will come to us, we'll be able to hop into his pouch and jump around. Ricky's one of 3 companions in Seasons, and he is the worst of the 3 companions by far. Unfortunately, he also happens to be the quickest for the sake of the speedrun. Part of the reason that Ricky is an unfortunate animal companion is due to the way that he moves. You're seeing him do these sort of large hops as he progresses across the screen, which do allow him to clear small hole gaps as well as hop up cliffs, but also ends up resulting in situations where Ricky hasn't quite reached the edge of a screen, and instead of just taking a small step forward and transitioning the screen, Ricky has to do another full hop, which is slow and a time waste and annoying. Gesellschaft, identifying the Heart Ring and equipping it. The level 2 Heart Ring is going to make sure that after a certain amount of time, she will be regaining a full heart. It's used as sort of safety precaution, as the game can get a bit dangerous later on in the run, particularly because of, just as the dungeons later on get more and more difficult. Stanner now making his way towards Dungeon 3, coming out the other side. He picked up a floodgate key in the house that he's going to put into another rock over here, and putting the key into the rock, as you would expect, unlocks a gate which allows the water to clear out and will allow Link to walk on through. You may have seen the entrance to Dungeon 3 as Stanner made his way towards this keyhole, but he's not quite able to enter yet, as the entrance to D3 is raised up above. So we have to make a slight little detour here that will involve our second use of Ricky. Luckily, Ricky doesn't appear in the latter half of the run at all, but for the time being, we will need to use his hoppy abilities to get by. Hopping up that cliff there, clearing some gaps, punching some snow. Typically, you would need a shovel to clear out these snow piles, but Ricky is able to just punch on through. Ricky's also able to punch through bombable walls, which is in fact a nice little perk of Ricky, which he needs given how terrible he is in every other capacity. But you saw Stanner pick up a square gem there. We're going to be picking up a number of other gems, 3 more gems in fact, but those won't come into play until later on in the run, so we will wait until then to talk about them. Stanner making his second trip to Subrosia here, needing to pick up a star ore, which he gets first try. That star ore there that you need to dig up can be in one of 4 spots on the beach there. There are 4 set locations that it can be in. And of course, the quicker you get it, the better off you are for a number of reasons. One, it's just slow to dig more. And also, the earlier you get it, the longer you get to keep your Pegasus seed there, which is the function by which Link can run super fast. It's the seasons and ages equivalent of the Pegasus boots. It's a limited seed increase, or a speed increase, but you have a little bit more mobility with the seed as opposed to the sort of straight line charging that the Pegasus boot intends for you to do. So it has its own trade-offs. Stanner used his star ore to purchase a ribbon to give to Rosa, the girl that we followed into Subrosia the first time. And Rosa was just hanging on a beach, lonely, sad, alone. We give her the ribbon. She wants to go on a date with us to find this summer temple. She has a key that can unlock any door. We don't know where she got it. Does it matter? I don't know. We don't ask too many questions. We don't want to get on her bad side. But we do head into the Temple of Summer to pick up our second season, the hottest season for the hottest date in the hottest land of Subrosia, so that we can get into Dungeon 3. Summer allows for us to dry up large bodies of water, as well as grow vines that Link is able to climb up. You will recall that Dungeon 3 is raised up above and hard to reach. We can use those vines through the power of Summer to get into Dungeon 3. Gesellschaft shortly making her way into Subrosia in just a few seconds here, where she will also need to dig up a star ore. We're going to see how lucky she can get, if she can also get first try, or if she's going to get a little bit more unlucky and have to go a bit further in. Stanner ending his date with Rosa by walking into a portal and never seeing her again. I mean, you know, you could say goodbye. You could go back to the beach where you found her and met her, but no, we have better things to do, so we leave and never see her again because the date just went that well. Gesellschaft getting second try, not bad at all. Still able to keep her Pegasus seed until she got up that staircase there, which is the big benefit of getting first or second star ore as opposed to third or fourth. If you get third or fourth, your seed runs out before you get to the staircase, which increases the amount by a significant portion. Stanner entering his way into Dungeon 3, the Poison Moth's lair, where we're going to find the second best item in the game and have a good time. We're going to open up some movement possibilities for Link here. Those little beetles that you saw there, typically the intended route or strategy for beating those would to be to purchase a shield and bump them over, but by using your shovel, you can just give them a nice little flip and kill them that way, saving yourself some rupees and a trip to the shop. Stanner going for a hand manipulation here in this room, trying to manipulate where the floor masters spawn to ensure that he does not have to pull out his sword. Unfortunately, having a slight mess up there at the very end. Still a fairly clean floor master room overall. Not having to spend too much time killing all the hands, only having to kill one and a couple of slashes on another. But not quite a perfect manip there. It's quite difficult to get right, because the hands don't spawn necessarily the way that Link is facing, but rather which way you're pressing on your D-pad at the time of the spawn timer for each hand. Stanner trying to go for some swag strats there, causing the hole to appear while also pushing the roller. Unfortunately, a slight execution flub as he ends up falling in, which means he has to redo the roller room, losing a little bit of time. Now he can fall into the hole there just to do a quick little fall warp back to the start of the room and head on up the stairs. Here you're going to see the first seasons puzzle, which is just a nice little block pushing puzzle. You need to match the bottom row with the top row. Nothing too extreme, but if you come in overconfident and unfamiliar with the puzzle, you might silly make a mistake or two when you're doing the game casually, or even first learning the speedrun. I know many a runner that has forgotten that puzzle early on in their learning process. Sttaner now gonna have to kill these mimics to get the Dungeon 3 item. Again, the second best item in the game. Are you ready for it? It's a beautiful item. There it is. Our jumpy feather. Making us a little bit more like Dumbo. We hold the feather and suddenly we can jump. We can't quite fly, but still we open up a whole plethora of possibilities for movement tech that we're going to be using throughout the run. Right here, there is a movement tech that you can do with the Pegasus seeds to get through the side scroller a little bit quicker. Sttaner opting to play it a little bit safer, not wanting to run the risk of falling and losing time. Also down one seed, which may be partly responsible as well. Gesellschaft making her way into the hands room. We're going to see if she goes for the hands manip as well, as Sttaner pushes a trampoline. Ooh, okay. Giselle needing to pull out her sword as well. Not wanting to get caught. As with all Zelda games, if you get caught by the hands, you do get teleported back to the start of the dungeon, which is obviously a huge time loss. Sttaner going to be going for the quick strats back through the side scroller, using a Pegasus seed in combination with the feather to skip some cycles on those moving platforms and quickly get across, saving a good chunk of time. And despite his slightly low heart count at this point, he will only really come into contact with the one room where he could take damage, so he should be safe even with this heart count. Unable to get the hands manip once again, losing it slightly earlier in the room this time, which results in him having to do a little bit more leg work, arm work, I guess, to swing his sword and kill a bunch of them. Opting for the sword manipulation for the hands, where you manipulate their health to 0 by hitting them 4 times. Pretty solid strat, pretty solid backup. Sttaner heading in to our Dungeon 3 mini-boss. This is Omuai. He consists of 3 little squids. Link is a kid, so we got squids and kids. You can make the joke. I'm not. I'll lead you to the water. You have to drink from the pond, I believe. Fairly straightforward fight. You pick up each of the 3 squids, throw them out, and hit them as they bounce around. Sttaner having a quick 3 cycle there. Solid fight. And heading now, just needs to pick up the boss key and is going to be making his way to the Dungeon 3 boss, Mothula. Gesellschaft also opting not to use any seeds in the side scroller as well. I am, of course, talking about Pokemon. Those are clearly tentacles. That episode of Pokemon from way back in the day, the original, where the giant tentacle terrorizes the city. Plenty of children there getting scared. Thank you, chat, for understanding. I appreciate it. 10 out of 10 reference understanding by Twitch chat, as usual. Big prop. Sttaner entering into the boss room here to fight Mothula. Mothula, a familiar face for those that have played other Zelda games. Circles around the room a number of times. Not inherently a dangerous boss, but if you're not careful, you can end up getting pushed into the pits, which requires you to jump on that trampoline that you saw Sttaner walk by and restart the fight. So if you get a little bit overzealous with your actions and your movements, you can end up falling and needing to restart. Stanner, luckily, or not luckily necessarily, but executing well, making sure that he does not need to restart the fight, and picking up the Bright Sun, our third essence, as Gesellschaft seems to have had a slight execution flub on her second run through the Floor Master room as well. Not able to get that hands manip. Instead, again, opting for the classic sword manip. Manipulating all that health to 0. Big fan. Stanner, trying to pick up some Pegasus seeds and do a nice little swag jump there. Unfortunately, missing the seeds a couple of times. You're going to see our runners return back to that Pegasus tree after every dungeon except for dungeon 7. It's going to be a little bit quicker than what you're seeing right now due to a seed that we're going to be picking up shortly that will allow us to get places even faster than running. What could be faster than making Link run fast? Who's to say? You'll find out right now on Seasons Any%. Gesellschaft struggling a little bit with Omoai, but getting the kill. Stanner in the Natsu region of the game, calling upon Ricky for the last time. This area changes its terrain based on which animal companion you have. If you have Dimitri the Dodongo, this area is filled with water, and you need to swim through with Dimitri. If you pick Moosh, the best companion by far, always the best, no matter what you say, you are wrong. I appreciate your other opinions, but you just have to accept that Moosh is the best. And the area will be a series of large hole gaps that you'll need to hover over. Ricky has the cliffs. As Stanner was progressing through, he was looking for a Pegasus seed drop and a Sense seed drop from the Buzz Blobs that you saw him punching through to kill. He did get a couple of Sense seed drops, which will help with Dungeon 4, the Dungeon 4 boss fight. No Pegasus seed drops, which does mean that he's a little bit tighter on Pegasus seeds than he would like to be. Might need to readjust his seed routing moving forward. Not getting the Pegasus seed drop is much worse than not getting the Sense seed drop, but not too terribly detrimental. Once again, there are technical difficulties that do not allow for Stanner's audio to be used for the sake of this speed gaming match, for better or for worse. Stanner picking up the second best companion, Dimitri the Dodongo, who was being bullied by a bunch of little kids. And we get rid of the kids by giving them a bunch of bombs and letting them go on their merry way, which is responsible of Link to give children explosives all the time. Giselle cleaning up on Mafula and heading on now towards Dungeon 4. Stanner right here gonna pick up the flippers. And again, I've said this before, I say this every time I commentate. Is it redundant? Sure. Is it perhaps rehearsed? I mean, not really, this part's not. But Link doesn't need flippers to swim. You don't need flippers to swim. You can just use your feet, whatever's on your shoes, you're fine. Link is a sneakerhead. Link loves his shoes. Link refuses to get his shoes wet. So with the flippers airtight, wrap around his ankles, keep his feet nice and dry when he comes out, and now he's willing to swim. Link's just a little prissy. That's all. That's all it is. It has nothing to do with being able to swim. That's not how flippers work, chat. It's just not how they work. Says goodbye to Dimitri though, forever. Never gonna see him again on the run, as he makes his way into Sabrosia one more time, where he wants to get Spring, but is instead immediately knocked around by these two Sabrosians here, who steal the feather and give you a nice green ore. The green ore, despite not letting us jump, is actually the strongest weapon in the game. It's stronger than the level 2 sword, despite the fact that it's a rock. However, we can't hold on to the ore because we need our feather back. As cool as it is to have a really strong weapon, not being able to jump is significantly worse for what we need to be doing. So instead, we need to basically follow these guys throughout the entirety of this zone. They only have one pattern per each screen, so there's nothing terribly exciting going on here as long as you know their single pattern. You can just go to the spots that you always go to, hang out. Some people do a little bit of digging for fun. Digging's a little bit dangerous, but because you can spawn a fire Potabo tower, a little fire pokey that can shoot fireballs at you. But some runners like to take the risk. And of course, not going to connect the dots for you, but I will say, we ditched Rosa to go to Dungeon 3. Next time we're in Subrosia, we get our feather taken from us. What do you think that means, Twitch chat? No, Stanner! Stanner! Stanner getting caught. Oh no. Oh no. Stanner getting caught on the final screen of hide and seek. Having to restart. Then getting caught very quickly on the first screen. Alright, so Stanner losing a pretty significant chunk of time. Wow. That's a big oof for Stanner there. Giving Giselle a nice little window to catch up. She's now going to be abandoning Dimitri here shortly and heading over into Subrosia. Hopefully Stanner learns from his mistake and does not get caught again on the last screen, as that would be a very significant time loss and would put this race to a pretty much a neck and neck. Alright. Okay, Stanner, be careful, please. Alright. Good so far. Good so far. Playing it safe. I like it. Play it safe. Alright. We're good. And there we go. There we go. Stanner getting it done. Gonna be able to dig up his feather and head back on his way. Unfortunately, we can't keep the Fool's Ore there. We have to basically leave it behind when we pick up the feather. But we can now jump again. And jumping is more necessary for this run than swinging our sword or swinging a strong weapon necessarily. Stanner here can now head into on his way to get spraying our third season. First, opening up a little bit of a shortcut that we're going to use later on in the run. As he can now going for a very precise jump there. Unfortunately, not quite gaining as he falls into the lava, but makes it to the Tower of Spring, where he can pick up his third season. Spring's capabilities all revolve around flowers. So Spring will bloom flowers that you can cut down that, when it is not spring, are stone. So you're able to cut down some flowers, and there's also a different kind of flower called a blast bloom that in spring Link can walk onto, and that blast bloom will suck Link up and shoot him up into the air, which is much cooler than anything Ricky does. Ooh, Stanner also going for the Pegasus Seed strat on the way back, trying to get the quick cycle there. Another very precise jump. Not able to get it, but it does save, again, another cycle if he is able to get it. So not able to get either of those precise jumps. Neither one a terribly significant time loss, but just trying to go for a little bit of swag that didn't work out. Ooh, coming up, you're about to see one of the very few glitches outside of the facade fight in the entire game called Rooster Clip, where Link pushes up against that stone mushroom ever so slightly to put himself 1 pixel into the rock above him, which is just enough to grab that cuckoo through the rocks. It saves you a menu. Not you know, the largest time save in the world, but it's one of the very few glitches in the game. As Stanner now is going to be picking up the bananas. And who do we give bananas to but the best companion in the game? Let's hear it. Chat. Chat. It's Moosh. He's a bear. He's blue. He has wings. He can fly. He can stomp with his butt. Alright? And he's adorable. He's the best companion. Team Moosh, everyone! We hang out with Moosh. Stanner also gain a bomb drop from the flowers on his way to Moosh, which is a very good thing because we do need bombs for Dungeon 4. So he will save time by not having to pick up a chest in Dungeon 4. Listen, I can respect anyone that thinks that Dimitri is the best companion. I also understand that you're wrong, but I can respect that opinion, you know? I respect your ability to choose the wrong companion. That's okay. I forgive you. Stanner here, I'm not sure. Stanner doing a little bit of something. Not sure what he was going for there. To be completely honest. But going for the save and quit and making his way here. Turning into winter so he can make his way to the top of this large cliff that you see the waterfall pouring down from. As everyone get ready to see Moosh for the second time. For the second time on Giselle's run over there. Standing here, gonna do a nice little jump using a seed. Interesting seed choice there. Gonna use this cuckoo. This is the last cuckoo that we see in the run. And as always, Zelda keys, put the key into the rock and you shut off a waterfall. I'm pretty sure, again, all Zelda games, true to real life. So that's just accuracy to a T. I appreciate Capcom and Nintendo's precision and desire to make things as realistic as possible. Stanner gonna pick up some hearts for safety here before he goes into Dungeon 4. Those heart drops are guaranteed. Dungeon 4 is the Dancing Dragon's Lair. It is, for me, in my opinion, the most difficult dungeon in the game. That's due largely in part to where it is in the run. Link has not quite yet gotten his hearts typically high level. And there's a lot of different areas where you can take a lot of chip damage over and over again. It's also one of the areas that early on sort of separates out runners from getting the heart ring and doing either power ring or no ring strats. Having the heart ring here really helps out runners that aren't too comfortable with not taking damage. So we're going to see whether or not Stanner's lack of a heart ring and Giselle having the heart ring are going to come into play here in Dungeon 4. If Stanner takes a death before he gets to the mini-boss, that could be a huge momentum shift for Giselle. Because Giselle is much less likely to be dying in this dungeon now. Stanner gained very bad luck there with the green Zols having to pull out his sword to kill them. Which is never optimal for RNG purposes. Giselle not having to pick up the bomb chest, meaning that she also got a bomb drop, which is good for her. Stanner here, we're going to see if he does quick strats in the side scroller. Going for, okay. Attempted to go for the quick strat where you can make it over that first rising platform before it rises too high. Unfortunately, not able to get it. And the seed runs out. Okay. Point out his sword just to get rid of those keys. Can be a huge pain. Making his way over the appearing and disappearing blocks. Definitely not reminiscent of another Capcom game by any stretch of the imagination. Chat, I don't know what you're talking about. Please. Stanner getting the key, doing a save and quit, and gonna make his way now from over to the right side, using his keys to unlock doors and make his way to the Dungeon 4 mini-boss. Ooh, taking a nice little fall there. Ooh, getting hit by a keys there as well. not wanting to take damage. Stanner at a pretty good heart count and getting a heart drop from the Keese there, meaning he's pretty safe for the all the way up through the Dungeon 4 mini boss. So hopefully we shouldn't see any death coming here from him. Getting a good like spawn there. 2 very good likes. The likes take 3 slashes to kill normally. So being able to just use 1 slash and push them into the water to kill them is a pretty good, it's both good luck and just good awareness for Stanner to get around to the right side and push him in rather than try to. Stanner killing some Stalfos, using their bones to build a staircase, because the staircase spawns after they die, which means only one thing. Link is a gruesome man. Making his way into a minecart, gonna pick up one more key and then head to the mini-boss. The mini-boss, both in name and in presentation, probably familiar to you if you played Link to the Past. Just maybe 1 or 2 things might tip you off towards that idea. I'll give you a little hint here. The D4 mini boss is called Gunama. That's a Gunama. So you again. I can lead you to the water. I can't make you drink. I believe. Gunama much easier than his Link to the Past counterpart in this game. Rather than needing to hit the orbs back at the mini boss, you can simply light the torches, identify which Gunama is the real one based on the shadow that appears underneath, and do a spin slash or a regular slash to damage. Takes 3 spin slashes and a normal slash typically to get the kill. And Stanner right here picking up our Dungeon 4 item, the slingshot. Slingshot allows us to sling our seeds along great gaps and distances. We're going to use it a couple of times here. And for the boss. Meanwhile, Giselle at Gunama as well. This race has gotten quite close in Dungeon 4. A lot of that coming as a result of Stanner having the unfortunate situation with hide and seek, and Giselle playing strong, not having any real mishaps in Dungeon 4 so far. Very clean dungeon from her. Getting the kill on Gunama, not having to worry about picking up the fairy because she has the heart ring, so she's just able to ignore it and move forward. Stanner not getting trolled by Keese. Those Keese can be terrible brats and block your Ember Seed. And if they block it too late, you can miss the switch altogether. Stanner going for a somewhat difficult angle to jump there. Goes for it one time, decides it's not worth it, and goes the intended way around. Is able to make it before the seed runs out, which is good, good execution on the recovery for Stanner. If you're a little bit slow there, you can run out of the seed before that last jump and end up falling again. So just good movement and execution there on the backup. Has to pick up one more small key after picking up that boss key, and can then make his way to our Dungeon 4 boss. Dungeon 4 boss, gonna be a familiar face once again. You're gonna see a lot of familiar faces here from a lot of our bosses. A lot of that, again, stemming from Ooze's season's history as a history of development as a Zelda 1 remake, remaster at the sort of start of its production. Standing here needing to kill these Wizrobes so we can progress forward. Not able to get a 2 cycle, gain a 3 cycle though. So you can get a 2 cycle if you get good Wizrobe spawns and are quick on your Gale seed shooting trigger. Oh, Stanner attempting to use a damage boost from the Wizrobe there to jump over the gap, but doesn't execute it well enough and ends up falling in, only having half a heart remaining. Gonna pick up the safety hearts here in these pots, just to make sure that he is able to survive one attack from the Dungeon 4 boss, who is coming up here, and it is Goma. Goma, the nice little crab lady. Crab spider lady? I don't know, it's hard to say. So, Goma, ooh, okay, dangerous. Okay, so Goma, the intended way of doing this fight is to cut off her claw. Is to cut off her claw and sling shots at her eye as she wanders around. Luckily, or unfortunately, that method of killing Goma is very erratic, because once you cut the claw off, you get a little bit RNG heavy on Goma's movements, as well as how often she opens her eye. So instead, you can actually get a very precise, not terribly precise, but a pretty precise vertical alignment, or horizontal alignment rather, on Goma to be able to bypass her claw and get the hits while the claw is still attached to her body. Just makes her a little bit cleaner and not quite so much RNG variance with the fight. Giselle got that jump over the gap without having to light the torches. A good time save for her. We'll also see if she's able to get a good Goma fight. Getting grabbed at the start there. Luckily having more hearts. Stanner, meanwhile, you saw him just teleport with the Gale Seeds to the Pegasus tree. Giselle having a very, very clean Goma fight there. Getting grabbed once at the start, but outside of that, and just one or two missed shots. Very clean. Gonna pick up some time there as well, in addition to the jumping over the gap. Cutting the time difference between the two of them a decent amount. Stanner, meanwhile, before he can go into Dungeon 5, we need to go and pick up our final season. Our final season is, of course, Autumn, which is currently being blocked by a large trio of rocks. Unfortunately, these are not the kind of rocks that we can blow up with our regular bombs, so we need to get something a little bit more potent. A little bit bigger, wears a crown, but it's apparently a flower. It's the bomb flower. Again, it's called the bomb flower, but it's a bomb with a crown on it. It's a royal bomb. It's a royal bomb. I've made my decision. Stanner picking up the bomb flower. And going to be heading over to the Tower of Autumn. There was some potential sync issues at the start of the race with when the timer was started on Gesellschaft's side. So rather than have desynced timers, Stanner's timer will be functioning for both of them. However, the runners are synced. Stanner picking up the final season, becoming the wielder of all 4 seasons. Autumn is going to do 2 main things. The first is to cover up leaves, cover up holes with leaves, which allows for Link to walk over the gap. It's the closest to RTA pit walking that any season's runner is going to get. And it also ripens mushrooms, because as everyone knows, mushrooms turn to stone when it's not autumn, and only turn to ripen when it is autumn. We're really only going to be using the ladder capability of autumn here. Not so much worrying about the pit walking capabilities. So Stanner, now with all 4 seasons, is able to head up onto the stump, set it to fall, and make his way into Dungeon 5. You're going to see Stanner hopefully throw this first mushroom off screen, This is due to a sort of weird quirk about the mushrooms where you can't pick up a second mushroom until the first mushroom has entirely despawned. So it's quicker to throw the mushroom off screen and immediately pick up the second one rather than throw it in a different direction and have to wait for it to despawn. Dungeon 5 is the Unicorn's Cave, which is aptly named because there are no unicorns anywhere. So, you know, accurate names and all that. Yeah. So here, Stanner is going to pretty quickly be picking up our Dungeon 5 item. We get it very early on in the dungeon. We're going to see if he goes for some quick strats here in the underground. Going to try and... Ooh, okay, gets a little bit quick. You are able to get through that side scroller without taking damage from either of the fireballs. Doing a damage boost there through the spiked swamp. And is going to be grabbing the dungeon item right now. Meanwhile, Giselle just about to enter into D5, changing the season to fall. Stanner picking up our dungeon item, the magnet glove. Our magnetic glove is going to allow us to do a number of cool things you're going to see here immediately from Stanner using Pegasus seeds, the glove, and our feather. A lot of jumps into nothingness to pick ourselves up with the glove and then carry on. Unfortunately, Stanner takes a bit of a fall, overshooting his jump ever so slightly. Stanner also playing a dangerous game, only having 2.5 hearts remaining. Hopefully he does not take too much damage here. There is a number of enemies that he's going to have to fight right now that can end up doing a lot of damage. So hopefully he plays it safe, avoiding the keys there narrowly. I'm going to have to kill all 4 of the enemies in this room, 2 Moldorms and 2 Helmasaurs. Getting hit twice by Moldorms. Hopefully he can get a heart drop here, otherwise he's going to be pretty low. Struggling with this Helmasaur, getting a heart drop as well. There you go. Commentator's blessing and a seed drop. Very nice for Stanner on both fronts there. Going to be able to use some extra seeds in this dungeon if he so chooses. This room right here that you see Stanner in, the 4 Armos room, you have to, once you kill the Armos, you see these 4 chests spawn. You have to open the chests in the same order that you killed the Armos. If you open them in the incorrect order, the chest will buzz out and you will instead get 4 anti-fairies, which means that you will need to reset the room, leave the room and come back in and try again. Stanner opting to go for a death warp there using a bomb rather than doing a save and quit, just because he was only at half a heart and he did not want to run the risk of only having half a heart to continue on with the rest of this dungeon. So a little bit slower, slightly slower to take the death warp. Not much, and a safer decision and probably a smarter decision in this scenario, as he does not want to find himself dying to the mini-boss or right before the mini-boss. Then here picking up 1 more key. Now is just gonna have to pick up 1 more key as well as push a block here to spawn a magnet ball that we're gonna need a little bit after the Dungeon 5 mini-boss. Getting the kill. Oh, opting to play it safe and go for that heart. Not wanting to run any risk of dying to anything. As Stanner down does one last... No, he's gonna do 1 more save and quit in the run. But 1 last save and quit before the Dungeon 5 mini-boss. Trying to go for some Magna Glove tech there. Unfortunately forgetting to jump over. Trying to pull himself quickly to move a little bit faster. If you jump, Link gets pulled or pushed a little bit quicker. However, if you don't jump, you do get sucked into that staircase and have to come back out. So perhaps a little bit of input flub there on Stanner's part. Not a big deal though. As Stanner is going to step on into our Dungeon 5 mini-boss, who is Saiger. Part Siberian, part tiger. No, wait, that's not saber-toothed tiger. That's what, okay. That makes more sense. We figured it out, Chad. Saiger here has 4 different attack patterns. One where he sort of erratically moves back and forth trying to target you. One where he goes into each of the 4 corners. One where he does a sort of square pattern, and one where he goes straight vertical lines. Sttaner getting a 3 cycle there. Clean fight. Grabbing the fairy as well. And is going to be making his way towards the boss key and then straight on to the Dungeon 5 boss. Meanwhile, Giselle, not that far behind, picking up this last key and is going to enter into Saiger as well. As Sttaner picks up the boss key, does his last save and quit of the dungeon, and is going to make his way now to the boss. One last side scroller. We'll see if Sttaner grabs the quick strat here. Using Pegasus Seeds in combination with the Glove and Feather, trying to get onto that top platform before it has a chance to cycle all the way through. Unfortunately not getting it, but not too big of a deal. Lost a couple of hearts, but should be okay. There are hearts here in those pods. Picks 1 up before going in to our boss, the it's Digdogger. Digdogger, familiar from Zelda 1, keeping that Zelda 1 motif going strong here. You have to hit Digdogger 4 times with a spiked ball before Digdogger turns into a handful of, I want to say 6 or 7 mini Digdoggers. Each of the mini Digdoggers dies in 1 squish from the spike ball. However, it can be a little bit difficult and erratic based on their movements to try and get all 6 or 7 in 1 cycle. If you're a little bit slow, the remaining minis turn back into a big Digdogger and you have to start it over. Sttaner not able to get the 2 cycle either. Again, it is very difficult to get a solid control on the spike ball, and depending on how the mini Digdoggers are moving, you can find yourself struggling a little bit with being able to get it. Oh, okay. Sttaner gonna want to play it a little bit safe here. Only has half a heart. Does not want to die. As that will put Giselle in the lead. Sttaner having to play it carefully, and unfortunately being careful is slow by nature. Struggling here as when the Digdogger reforms into a big Digdogger, if there are less of them, the big Digdogger moves faster. Getting the 4 cycle, 3 or 4 cycle there, a little bit scary. Having to take it slow just to make sure that he didn't die. If Giselle has a 1 cycle, they're going to be pretty much neck and neck. Ooh, unfortunately not able to get the 1 cycle. We'll see if she can grab the 2 cycle. Taking a lot of damage as well. Does have the extra safety of the heart ring. Also getting not able to pull off the 2 cycle. So gonna have a little bit of the same difficulty that Sttaner did here with just the speed at which Digdogger moves, but able to quickly get the 4 hits on Big Digdogger. Meanwhile, Sttaner, outside of Dungeon 5, is going to be picking up the last 2 gems that he needs to get on his way towards Dungeon 6. So the first of our last 2 gems that we're picking up there, the circle gem, is from that old man. That old man will not give you the circle gem until after you have the Dungeon 4 and Dungeon 5 essences. And the final one that we get here is on the beach, guarded by, well, something special. Something that you wouldn't expect to be guarding something of value. You know? Especially when you see how it's hidden. It's also, as you can see on Stanner's screen, his equips right now. This is where we use our mystery seed for the singular time during the run. Mystery seeds have the power to use one of the 4 other seeds' capabilities outside of this particular use on that question mark, where it is required in order to spawn a mini Moldorm. A mini Moldorm. called the Black Beast, but it's just a Moldorm. But now with all 4 of our gems, Stanner can progress into the Tarm Ruins and slot our 4 gems in. Again, you can see our 4 gems, circle, triangle, square, and X, confirms for us that we will be getting a Seasons remake in PlayStation in 2019. No, wait. Okay, please keep in mind that everything that I've just said is in fact not true, and there is no confirmed Seasons on any Sony device in the future. Thank you. Come again. All right, now that I've done that little disclaimer there, Stanner gonna have to make his way through Tarm Ruins. We're gonna go from Tarm Ruins into the Lost Woods immediately. The Lost Woods is where we're going to both pick up our level 2 sword, as well as make our way to Dungeon 6. Now, Ages and Seasons are very, very different games, despite sharing that Oracle's moniker. It's not like Pokemon Red and Blue, where it's the same game with a different skin and like 1 or 2 different changes. They're completely different games. Both have a level 2 sword in them. However, the level 2 sword in Ages requires you to go through the entire trade sequence to get a broken version of the sword that you have to repair. Whereas in Seasons, the entire trade sequence gets you a code for the Lost Woods, which you then need to implement here in order to pick up the level 2 sword. Luckily for people that run Seasons, it means that all you need to do is remember the code and you can get the level 2 sword. Which just allows us to pick that up. Whereas in Seasons, you're not quite able to pick up the sword because it would be too significant a time loss going through and doing the entire trade sequence. The code to get to the Noble Sword, for those that are curious, are the seasons from coldest to warmest. And after each season, you go left. So winter left, autumn left, spring left, summer left. And then we need to make our way to Dungeon 6. To get to Dungeon 6, we need to do, again, coldest to warmest, but instead of going left every time, we're going to go winter left, autumn down, spring right, summer up. By going through that counterclockwise motion, we navigate our way through the Lost Woods and are able to make our way towards Dungeon 6. Giselle just now getting into the Lost Woods and going to be grabbing the level 2 sword here very shortly. Stanner gonna have to do a quick wraparound in order to push an Armo statue so that he can get back up in spring. It's a little bit of a convoluted, almost puzzle here to get into the entrance of Dungeon 6. Change the spring, not getting screwed over by the ball and chain trooper there. That ball and chain trooper can spawn on top of the blast bloom and really ruin your life because you either need to kill it or cycle through the seasons or transition the screen and come back, and it's just an annoying time loss and there's nothing you can really do about it because it's just RNG. Stanner entering into the ancient ruins. This is our 6th dungeon. 6th dungeon here has is the motif of our 6th dungeon is that it's a trap house of sorts. There are a lot of rooms that look similar to rooms that you go through that are just fake or useless time wasters. Luckily, because this is a speed run, we're going to be avoiding those trap rooms, saving us some time and some difficulty, but casually, this dungeon can be a huge pain to anyone that's not necessarily familiar with the game if it's their first time playing through. Stanner using this magnet ball. Oh, taking a nice little spill there. Gonna use this magnet ball to put onto that button so that he can spawn a key that he's gonna pick up and then do a save and quit for. Also, keep in mind this little robed individual that we see here in front of Dungeon 6. I'm sure they won't show up again in the run, especially since I mentioned it to you. Don't read into it, chat. Just take me at face value. They're definitely not going to show up again. Stanner going to do a couple of nice little jumps here. This, oh no. taking a slight fall due to getting hit by the BMOS. Excellent. First try on that jump. That jump can be, it's not intended. You're intended to go around and push a button. But you can just make that jump if you align Link a little bit, or you get Link very close to the edge. However, missing a bomb throw, which means his seed runs out a little bit earlier than he would like, and has to now deal with these little beetles here. Opting to go for attempting the jump over the beetles and push them into the hole, or shovel them into the hole. Unfortunately, that top beetle not being kind, so he does have to deal with it a little bit more severely and take a little bit of time loss. Didn't want to equip the shovel just because it's a little bit slower, or not the shovel rather, but the sword, because it's a little slow to have to kill them. But you can see the sort of ramifications of that as he's now only at a heart and a half. And the next fairy that he's going to be able to get is not coming up for a hot second. He does pick up the magic boomerang and immediately gets 2 heart drops, so he's fine. Everything, 3 heart drops, of course. What was I thinking? Sorry, my fault. I would like to apologize officially to Sttaner for saying having 1.5 hearts was not enough, because clearly he's nowhere near 1.5 hearts. The magic boomerang is a boomerang that you control with your mind. No. Control with the D-pad. And has the ability to penetrate the armor of the Armos and kill them, despite the fact that the Armos are invulnerable to your sword. Giselle now just about to make her way into the magic boomerang room as well. Also trying to go for those same strats as Sttaner there, with the flip, jump over to flip them into the hole. Struggling a little bit, opting to take the time loss and pull out the sword. Interesting decision there to put the sword over the shovel and avoid the beetle back and forth the way she is, rather than pull out the shovel and just kill the beetle. But she does make it over. And again, with the heart ring, you see she got hit a couple of times. She's only missing a heart and a half by comparison. So this is where you're sort of seeing how significant the heart ring can be to damage that you take over long periods of time. Sttaner shooting some torches as he's going to make his way into the Crusher. Before he does, he's going to pick up a guaranteed seed drop and a guaranteed fairy just for a little refill for both his health and his seeds, and is now going to make his way through the Crusher. Other runners, also referred to affectionately as the Indiana Jones room, where there is a rupee that you pick up, but it's a trap. It's a fake, and you're punished for your greed by a shrinking room. If that room crushes you, you get sent back to the start of the dungeon, which is not a big deal because you can totally warp back to the mini-boss because you've already killed... No, that's right. You haven't killed the mini-boss. So you have to go through the whole situation again and take a huge time. It's not terribly difficult as long as you're not messing around in the room. You just have to deal with a couple of unwieldy keys before making your way through. Sttaner here using the seed. Interesting decision. Now picking up the last small key that he's going to need as he gets into the Dungeon 6 mini-boss. Familiar face from Ages, from LADX, from Caesar, or from Zelda 1. Vire. Vire has 3 attack patterns. One that is kind, like the one you saw, where he charges in. One where he circles around slowly, and you can still hit him, but it's a little bit more difficult. Sttaner getting very, very good Vire RNG in that fight. Getting 1 bad cycle with the slow wraparound, but getting 3 charges, one before the circle and then 2 right after. That's a quick 4 cycle, and very, very good RNG for Vire there. Sttaner's going to have to deal with his second bout of RNG in this dungeon, which is these 2 buttons that are coming up here. There is a 50-50 chance for these buttons to spawn a staircase that you need. If you get the wrong button, you have to reset the room and try again. Getting second try button. Again, good RNG there. I believe the record for number of times to hit the button is currently held by Sagas14, who got 18 button pushes before he got the staircase to spawn. That is not lucky. That's very unlucky. Stanner hitting those last 3 switches as he's just about to make his way into our Dungeon 6 boss fight. Oh, Giselle making her way into the Dungeon 6 mini-boss meanwhile. Well, hopefully Giselle can get some good luck here with her Vire fight. Gain a charge on the first pass. Gain a slow circle around on the second. Charge on the third. Can she get the same luck? Nope, gain an unlucky. Gain, okay, not bad for Vire, for Giselle. Meanwhile, Stanner entered into our Dungeon 6 boss fight, Manhandla. Manhandla is looks like a giant buzz blob with 4 large piranha plant heads. So the intended, you need to hit each of the heads with your magic boomerang 3 times when the mouths are open, but Manhandla does not open a mouth unless that head is faced away from Link. So you need to be able to manipulate the boomerang and wrap it around to get those hits in. You try to push them down as evenly as possible because with each head that gets killed, Manhandla gets faster and faster. Stanner having a pretty solid fight there, making good work of Manhandla and getting out of Dungeon 6. That can be a very, very trolly boss that you can end up losing a lot more time than you realize on if you're not lucky and you have a little bit of missed inputs with your boomerang control. Stanner now going to make his way to Subrosia another time, but we're out of seasons, so we need to pick up something else instead. You see, to get to Dungeon 7, we need to go on a boat trip. And luckily for us, there are a handful of skeleton pirates that are looking to set sail. However, the captain can't go sailing without his trusty bell. What self-respecting captain would ever go anywhere without his trusty bell? Where's his trusty bell? It is in the desert, following a sort of shipwreck that happened last time they set sail. Which, I don't know what that says about the capabilities. No, I'm just kidding. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. But it's in the desert. Link needs to go pick it up. There are 4 spots that the bell can be in. What try is Stanner gonna get? First, second, third, or 4th try, chat? Chat, put your predictions in now. Give me your predictions. Come on. Come on, chatters. Chatty chat. Giselle, cleaning up on Manhandla there. Gonna make her way to the skeleton pirates as well, so that she can search. Of course, before we can find a bell, we need to do the obvious thing that everyone does in this situation. Wherein you need to talk to a skeleton's ghost, find that skeleton's head, carry it, and use that skeleton head as a metal detector / radar to be able to get the bell. Not first, I guess. Did Stanner spoil it? Stanner did in fact spoil his own bell getting 4th try. Unfortunate for him. That's going to be a time loss. Giselle can save some time here if she's able to get better than a 4th try. So we'll see whether or not Giselle decides to spoil it. You can put in your predictions for her bell get 1 through 4. What's it going to be as Stanner begins to make his way towards Dungeon 7? Or sorry, rather, we got a rusty bell with it, which is a little bit like a trusty bell, but not quite to the T. So we need to instead go get that repaired. And what better place to repair a bell than in Subrosia at a nice blacksmith? However, the blacksmiths in Subrosia, they don't like niceties. They don't like people who say please. They like people to say, do it now, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. So that's all you need to tell them. Is just to do it and they'll do it. Because that's how you talk to someone. That is good customer. Ooh. Giselle getting first try. Very, very nice first try for Giselle. Saving some time on Stanner there. That's going to be a good time save. As Stanner can now make his way back to our skeleton pirates and give our trusty pirate's bell to our captain and be on our way. Giselle playing a little bit safe there, going to the Gale tree just to make sure she doesn't accidentally run out of Gale seeds during the later on in the run, as you could find yourself out of a dungeon but without a Gale seed and have to take a very long, slow walk to the next dungeon, which is really not what we want. Stanner now entering into a pirate cutscene. You're going to hear the music once Giselle gets there. People love the pirate music. I think it's because it's 2 minutes of cutscene, and so people need to love something about it. And since it breaks up the monotony of the cutscene, it all works out. Or that's an unpopular opinion on my part. You know? You know? Could be. Could be the case. But it turns out, chat, that when skeletons are sailors, pirates, and they find themselves on land for too long, they lose their sea legs. They get seasick. They can't handle it. They start to vomit up the nothing that's in their stomachs. The ribs, I guess. I'm not sure how a skeleton. Okay, don't worry about it. But it's been a while. They're not used to it, so they need to dock earlier than anticipated, which is super convenient for us because who knows where we would have gone if they actually were good at their jobs, their desired passions. Instead, we get a nice little dock right next to Dungeon 7. Beautiful. Beautiful. Giselle getting into the pirate cutscene, meaning that she's roughly a little less than 2 minutes behind on Stanner right now. As Stanner's doing a jump to skip a season change to get into Dungeon 7. Stanner in Dungeon 7, into the crypt. Which is my favorite dungeon here. Here we have our first real skip of the run, called Post Skip. You're going to see it come into play. It functions around those torches that are starting to go out as Stanner runs through. We're going to try and be very quick. We're going to try and avoid letting those 4 torches go out, because if those 4 torches go out, we get sent back to the start of the dungeon, which we don't want. That's bad. Chat, it's bad. It's bad. So we can just barely make it if we are quick with our jumping and our block pushing, our roller pushing rather. So let's see what Stanner can do here. Come on, Stanner. Let's go. Come on. Oh, just making it there. Beautiful, clean, skipping over a key door and a short little fight that he would have to do otherwise, which is going to be super useful as it's going to allow us to skip a key later on in the dungeon. Ooh, Giselle almost taking a fall there as she is now entering into Dungeon 7. Stanner, these Armos that you see spawning, they are, it's random which of them is dormant you need to push the dormant one onto the button. There is a manipulation that you can do for Dungeon 7 that will give you good Armos positions, but it has not been quite adopted by all the runners. I only know a couple that use it. I assume we're going to see Giselle go for post skip as well. We're going to see if she can pull it off first try. If she is, she'll be able to keep the race tight. Unfortunately, if she does end up failing, it will be a pretty significant time loss for her. Stanner going to do some nice little jumps here. Get some... a little bit close there on that last jump. Doing a little bit of stutter stepping. But get some... These enemies right here, the Magrunessus, little magnet coins, are annoying and garbage because they like to run away from you all the time. I don't like them. I don't like them at all in this fight. Oh, okay. Giselle's seed running out there. Not sure exactly what happened. Ooh, also getting the post skip as well. Cutting that super close there. I was afraid that she had not quite gotten it, given a lot of the erroneous movements that you saw her do towards the end there, but still getting it shows the sort of leniency there. Yes, Giselle is using the heart ring, Stanner is using no ring. So they're now going into this Poe room here. So the Dungeon 7 mini-boss are the Poe sisters. Typically you're supposed to fight both the Poes individually before, but we skip the first Poe when we do Poe skip, hence the name. It's super on the nose and hopefully descriptive enough. Unfortunately, there's another room here, the next room over to the left with the water, where the torches also go out. Unlike the first one, we can't get to that staircase before all 4 torches go out, so we have to fight the second Poe sister. So no double Poe skip, just a singular Poe skip. Stanner here doing some nice little magnet glove jumps out of thin air because Zelda logic. Don't worry about it. It's a Nintendo game. It's beautiful. Why wouldn't he be able to jump out of midair? Giselle taking an unfortunate little fall there. Stanner doing a lineup for a jump. Oh no. Okay, so Stanner there trying to buffer out a seed usage and a jump on the same menu. Unfortunately, he was holding on to his sword input as he pressed pause, so the game ate his jump there, so he ended up just running off. So you need to be a little bit careful if you're trying to do a double buffer. Opts instead to go now for the using the seed and then doing a buffer jump. Oh, as he's trying to pick up our dungeon item, don't. Okay, gets it. There we go. Chat, we've picked up the best item in the game, the big sibling to our Rock's Feather, the level 2, the Rock's Cape, giving Link a double jump, letting Link glide with ease. What more could you ask for in a 2D Zelda game? 2D Zelda, like what? It's the best Oracle's item by far. It's arguably the best 2D Zelda item, bar none. I can't think of a better one. You're free to try and come up with something, but I mean, it's the Rock's Cape. Come on. Come on. Let's not play. What do you think this is? A game? No, wait, hold on. That's not right. Stanner making his way to the Dungeon 7 mini-boss, where we're going to see the Poe sisters reunite, gain our first look at the first Poe sister that we skipped, and fighting them both at the same time. Getting quite good Poe sister spawns there. All on the left side. Very, very good RNG for the Poe sisters. Yeah, that was super nice. If all 4 torches get blown out, you get sent back to the start of the dungeon. Ooh. Giselle trying to do the the Magna Jump here without buffering, which is a bold strategy. Gets the jump, but didn't have seeds on, so she wasn't able to make it across. Being a little bit stubborn, it seems. Oh, gets it that time. Wow. What do I know? Getting it. There you go. Okay. She got it bufferless. Took her a couple of extra tries. As Stanner's going to make his way to grab the boss key here before he can go hang out with the Dungeon 7 boss, who is going to be another familiar face. Another familiar face from Zelda 1. Although this time going to be a little bit easier than in Zelda 1, just due to the introduction of a Z-axis that allows us to jump, and also having more hearts than you do in Zelda 1 as well. Standing here, just gonna enter in, and we come face to face with the double-headed dangerous dragon, Gliok. Gliok has 3 different fireball attacks of varying annoyance. Only one of them is actually that bad. The other 2 are pretty easy to be able to avoid. However, once you cut off the 2 heads, it's not over. You have to turn into a skeletal dragon, become undead, and then charge mindlessly. Stanner making very quick, short work of that boss, not having any issue at all. Picking up our Dungeon 7 Essence, the Seeds of Life. As Giselle just getting into the Dungeon 7 mini-boss. As Stanner here is going to make his way towards Dungeon 8. Again, this is the only time, or this is the first time you'll have seen the runners not go to the Pegasus tree between dungeons. That is due to a guaranteed set of seed drops that you're able to get on the way from Dungeon 7 to Dungeon 8. So we warp instead to the Sentry and make ourselves a little trip. Going on a nice little cape trip here to get to Dungeon 8. Bada bing, bada boom. Alright, here we go. So here are our 2 seed drops. As Stanner pulls out the bracelet in order to do a shovel cancel. By using the bracelet at the end of the shovel, or as you're shoveling, you can cut the animation down to save some time there. Makes that little zipper jump right there. It is not an easy jump to make. It is not the intended strat casually. You're intended to change the season to fall in order to walk over the pits and make your way across. You go into Subrosia. Oh, chat. So the entrance to Dungeon 8 is hidden behind a plethora of trees that you can't get past, even with winter. So you need to do the rational thing, the good thing, the lesser evil, and throw a bomb into an active volcano to cause it to erupt. And it rains fire down on the land up above. Does it destroy most of the land? Yeah. Does it probably kill any small critters that were in any of those trees? Birds, squirrels, anything else? I mean, probably. Does it also reveal the entrance to Dungeon 8? And is that the only thing that matters to us because we have a girl to save? I think you know what the answer is. Sometimes the best... I'm gonna say sometimes the best defense is a good offense, but I don't think that applies in this situation. This is just destruction. Wanton destruction. Stanner now out of Subrosia, gonna make one final trip to Subrosia, as that is where we're gonna find Dungeon 8. Gonna do a couple of somewhat finicky jumps, not too bad, but can be a little bit trippy, especially here with the keys. Opting not to go for the second one and go a little bit, take a little bit of a slower route going around. As Giselle is just now finishing up Dungeon 7. Stanner just about to enter into Dungeon 8. There's a nice couple of fairies here to do a nice health refill before we go in, just to make sure we're topped off in case we got bodied by Lionels. Dungeon 8 is inside an angry, weird-looking volcano. Our final dungeon includes also the hardest trick in the game. A double frame-perfect, bomb-boosted cape jump. This game, yes, it does run at 60 FPS. So, you know, that's a good start for a trick, right? A good, strong start. And unlike LADX, Seasons does not have one frame advanced pauses. So you can't really perfect buffer. The buffers for the Oracle games are a little bit more finicky and require more precision and occasionally a little bit of luck, which can make the jump even more difficult than a similar jump maybe in a game like LADX. It's called HSS Skip. It skips the Dungeon 8 mini-boss, the Dungeon 8 dungeon item, and also about 5 minutes of the dungeon overall. So he falls into that pit to reset his sub-pixel for the sake of simplicity and brevity. Whereas pixels are where Link moves, the sub-pixels are sort of where Link is allowed to move. So you have to reset your sub-pixel to allow Link to move on certain pixels. Here we go. First jump is good. Second jump, second part of the jump, I think that's good as well. No, just a couple of frames late on that second jump. Looks like maybe 1 or 2 frames late on the cape extension. Not able to get it first try. Very close there, just barely missing it. We'll see if Stanner can get this trick relatively soon. If Giselle can get this first try, if she's going for it, I know that she's been practicing between the 2 matches. If she's able to get it before Stanner, we will see the shift in momentum here. The HSS skip can act as the great equalizer in this race late game. But I'm not 100% sure on how practiced Giselle is for this jump. We're gonna see. I know that she has been practicing it unbuffered. She's done it unbuffered a number of times. She may try it a couple times unbuffered for show, just to see if she gets that lucky, or not lucky, but she gets the execution done perfectly. But we'll see. Stanner just here struggling. There is, yeah, what Hardiman mentioned in chat, there is a new setup for HSS skip that is slightly different and some people find somewhat easier. I know that a number of runners have taken to implementing the new setup where you set Link up a little bit further back so that you don't have to throw the bomb. The bomb just explodes in your hand. That is not gonna work. But Stanner's not implementing that strategy at all. As Giselle's just now making her way into Dungeon 8. Here we go. Giselle's catching up here. If Stanner doesn't get this soon, Giselle's going to be at HSS skip at the same time. And if she goes for it and gets the first try, we're going to see the shift here. All right. Oof. HSS skip is the great equalizer of Dungeon 8. It is... Stanner had to do a reset, so... Oh my. Okay, our runners are very close. Stanner's still technically ahead because Giselle will need to pick up the key from the Zoles and the Beetle in the next room, whereas Stanner can just walk on by. So Stanner ahead, but it is now neck and neck. We have a race. We have a race. We're gonna see here what happened. All right, Stanner falling in the pit, setting up. We saw Giselle do a save there, which means she will be going for HSS skip. There's no reason to save there unless you are going to be going for the trick. Just to conserve your seeds. If you run out of seeds, you can do a reset without wasting everything. So we're going to see. If she goes for this unbuffered and gets it, I'm going to actually... Like, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Oh, Stanner gets it. Okay, Stanner gets it on the reset. Okay. Giselle, if she can get this... Giselle goes for it unbuffered. Does not get it. She's going to go for it unbuffered. If she continues to go for it unbuffered and isn't able to get it, this race... I don't know. We have to see. Stanner in the lead now. Oh my goodness. She is getting quite close here with her unbuffered. As far as I'm aware, no one has successfully used an unbuffered HSS skip in a run, in a PB or a run or anything else. So, if she's able to get it, it will be a first, I believe. Someone can correct me on that if I'm mistaken. Stanner making his way through. That was so close. Stanner getting a slow pattern on this Armos puzzle here. There are a handful of patterns. I want to say between 5 and 7 patterns that you can get from these Armos. That was a particularly slow one. I believe the slowest of them all. As he's going to now progress forward, grabbing the ice chunks. So in addition from skipping our Hyper Slingshot, skipping the Dungeon 8 mini-boss Fripolar, and skipping the middle section of the dungeon, which eliminates the... Oh my goodness! Okay! Well... I mean... There you go. It's gonna come down if Stanner, I believe Stanner did die to Onyx in the previous tournament match. If he has a bad Dronix, Giselle could come back here. But either way, regardless of whether or not she gets the victory here in this match, Giselle has done something that I don't believe anyone else has done in a run. So regardless of how this match turns out, she has done something incredible. Very, very impressive. Wow. Wow. That's great. Okay. So, I apologize. Stanner, throwing in these ice chunks. As I said, with HSS skip, you do get to skip one of these ice chunk throws to avoid having to pick up a key. So we get a little bit of time save there. Stanner having an interesting route through this area. I'm not familiar with this particular route. I don't know if it's faster or slower than the more traditional route here. No, I would imagine it has to be. It has to be a little bit slower. So we're gonna see what happens. If... Oh. Giselle missing the Armos here, deciding to do it after getting that first ice chunk throw in. As Stanner, now having thrown his final ice chunk, is going to make his way to the Dungeon 8 boss, Medusa Head. Medusa Head is the it's the only unique to Seasons boss in the game. Whereas with the other bosses, we've seen them pulled from other games, a lot of them primarily from Zelda 1, given that history that I've mentioned before. Medusa's Head is unique to this game and entirely original to it. It is a, as you would expect, stone Medusa Head that has an attack that can turn you to stone. Does that seem like a shock twist there on the fight? This fight is pretty straightforward and easy. as Stanner gets turned to stone, so I would like to apologize for the commentator's curse that I have provided here. Once again. But Stanner makes short work of Medusa Head and has the Dungeon 8 essence. Going to be making his way now towards Onyx's castle to beat Onyx after making a quick pit stop at the Maku tree. Unfortunately, it looks like over on Gesellschaft's screen, she's a little bit lost. I know that she's this is her here, just to add to it, this is her 4th full run that she's ever done. So her familiarity with Dungeon 8 is not quite well rounded and evolved yet. So she opts to save and quit there, which is a pretty big mistake. She did hit the button after HSS skip, so she will be able to return back. She will be able to return back to the area with relative ease, but it's not a very good call. Unfortunately, it's just an unfortunate lack of experience with the run. As I've mentioned, this is her 4th runs. Only her 4th run. So it looks like that lack of experience in the game is potentially going to cost her this race, depending on how this Dronix fight goes with Stanner. If we see Stanner lose this fight or die or run out of bombs or anything, and it's gonna be a little bit unfortunate for Giselle that her knowledge of the dungeon was not quite up to par. But we're gonna see what happens as Stanner enters into Onyx's castle. Again, please keep in mind, this is the 4th full run that Gesellschaft has done. 4. She did an unbuffered HSS skip in her 4th run. I'd like to emphasize that just one more time. And this is not to take away from Stanner, who has been playing very well and is at Onyx's castle and is looking good for the end of this race. But what has happened in this race is very, very impressive. It's a very, very good match to see. Stanner making his way through Onyx's castle, making short work of the Wizrobe room there, as well as these Floor Masters and Dark Nuts. Hopefully Facade gives us a good fight here for Stanner. Getting fireballs in the first cycle, which is very nice. Shooting for not holes, essentially. Double fireballs, very good. Gonna pick up the safety fairy. Deciding to pick that one up rather than risk running around for the Facade fairy. As Stanner now enters into the Onyx fight. The Onyx fight is gonna take part in a couple of phases here. First phase, I mean, you're gonna see he's gonna swing his ball and chain around. I believe in this phase he only uses 2 of his moves, the ball and chain throw down and the jump up and make rocks fall from the sky. As you get 7 spin slashes in, he will bring down Din to act as a barrier. And I believe it adds the 3rd move to his move pool, which is to spawn 3 tornadoes in succession that will come and dart towards you to do damage. You could knock Din away with the Ice Rod, or you can use Din to stun lock and damage buffer Onyx to get 2 hits in per spin slash. And it's revealed that Onyx was a dragon this whole time. He was a dragon in shining armor. We're going to see if Sttaner can do a stun lock here, or if he's going to go for a more traditional strat. Okay, not going to go for a stun lock, and does fall off here. Playing it safe. Getting the hand swipe. Not able to jump back on, though. Okay, jumps back on the hand. All right, jumping off, being aware that Onyx was going to that bottom corner there. Falling off one again. Luckily, Sttaner came in this with a good amount of health and is not taking too much damage. So he should be safe for the end of this fight, so long as he doesn't get bodied by these fireballs here. Dodging all but one of them. Very, very strong movement there. As, again, taking another fall. Getting a good pattern here with the hand swipe. And getting the last hit. There we go. With the dot done here at an SRL time of 1:56.17. Very, very solid time here from Sttaner. Taking the victory in this race. Having a little bit of a struggle on Dronix, but finishing strong. Not letting the death happen. And not saving Din. What a pro. I'm going to message Sttaner right now to see if he wants to come in for a interview, post-game interview. As Giselle now making it to Medusa's head. Cleaning up on Medusa head, getting the 8th essence, the changing seasons, and is going to now make her way towards Onyx's castle. I believe, do we have...
Indeed, I'm here. Hello, hello.
Hey, Sttaner. Hey. GG's. GG's.
Thank you. Thank you.
On your victory. So, I mean, introductory, first question, as always. How do you feel about the run, just from an overall standpoint? I'm going to say outside of HSS skip, because HSS skip is always HSS skip. But outside of that, how are you feeling about how you played overall?
Every dungeon, I did huge mistakes. In Dungeon 2, I fell down the platform room. In Dungeon 3, lots of things went wrong, like an underground section. What did I do wrong in Dungeon 4? I almost died, yeah. I almost died. Dungeon 5, what happened there? Oh, I almost died there as well.
Yeah, you had a little bit of a rough dig dogger there at the end.
The dig dogger. Oh god. He went crazy, I couldn't hit him at all. And then, yeah, the run itself was like, not that good. I'm not happy with the run, but somehow managed to win.
Well, luckily, it means that you get to stay alive in the tournament, and we'll have another opportunity to get a run that you're a little bit happier with in the next round.
Maybe I should just practice or do a run.
I mean, it's possible. It's possible that some practice moving forward may be a good idea, just to help things go smoothly for the rest of the tournament. I'm gonna take a quick look at the tournament bracket here to see who you're going up against next. I don't recall top of my head.
Oh, that.
You're gonna be going up against Kudo.
Kudo, my boy.
So the two of you, still, both of you will be fighting for your lives sometime next week. So the question is, with that in mind, are you going to be practicing? Are you going to be doing some practice there?
The thing is, I entered 2 tournaments. So I kind of need to practice the other game as well. So I think I'm just gonna wing season, since I already did like 2 tourney runs. Of course I'm gonna practice like an hour before the race, like the hard stuff, like HSS skip, or do a full D7 run or something. But yeah, I need to de-rust the other run, where I still need to learn the newer strats and stuff.
Yeah, okay, I see. So maybe a little bit of overcommitment there on tournament stuff. Maybe potentially costing you a race against Kudo next week. Hopefully you still show up with that hard practice there. Maybe you get some Dronix reps in as well. I know that basically I think had Giselle here had a little bit more experience with the run and more familiar with Dungeon 8, that could have been a very tight battle in the Onyx fight, because she ended up getting her HSS skip very soon after yours, and I know that you were struggling there with the fight at the end.
Yeah, I struggled at HSS skip and the fight at the end. Probably should practice that. Also, I'm not doing any manips or...
Yeah. I noticed that as well after Dungeon 1. I saw you swinging your sword on the stump with Rosa there, and I was like, oh, okay, he's definitely not doing any manipulations. Oh, you're getting called out in the chat. Heretaman saying that you need to make it past the next round so that the 2 of you can meet in the following round. Your Aegis buddy, right there, telling you need to make it.
My Aegis buddy.
So you gotta keep going. You've been commanded. Meanwhile, Giselle now in the Onyx fight. What's up?
Depending if he and me win our runs or races.
Now, Herdeman will have to beat Linky. You will have to beat Kudo.
Yeah.
To face off against each other.
I believe in Kudo. He will beat me.
You believe in Kudo. A resounding confidence coming from Stan. Chat.
And my suffering.
Giselle entering into Dronix here.
Oh, nice.
You're gonna... Oh. Okay, getting 2 hits and 2 spin slashes in before falling down. We're gonna see... Okay, not getting the spin slash there, but... Okay. 4. Getting 4 hits in, falling down, having 4 hearts. Getting pretty good patterns here for Dronix. That will not count as a spin slash, that counts as a poke, so unfortunately that does not count as her 5th spin slash. I'm gonna try and stay in the corner and avoid those fireballs. You did a good job of avoiding those fireballs though in the fight there when he started throwing them out.
Yeah, so the thing is, if you just stay somewhere in the middle, he always shoots to the sides, or yeah, if you just move around in the middle, you won't get hit at all.
I see. Okay. Giselle, I believe needing 1 or 2 more spin slashes, gain another fireball cycle, and running a little bit low on hearts here. Only at 1 1/4 heart, 1 heart remaining. Getting the last hit. Dot Dunning with a time of 2:04:32. I believe this is a PB for her. Again, this is only her 4th completed run ever of the game, and she's already less than 5 minutes away from a sub 2 hours. So a very solid run there. We'll see if Giselle wants to come in to do an interview as well.
I got caught.
You got caught?
Yeah, abusing animals.
Oh no. Making Stanner's spending some time just throwing some seeds at Ricky there to punish him for being a bad companion.
What does it say? Oh, it's Japanese. I can't read.
Here. Hopefully she comes in for an interview, because
And she's in the waiting room.
Oh, okay. You can hop in whenever.
I pull her in.
Oh, I don't know. Okay, that's not.
Pull her in.
Hello. Oh.
Hello?
Hi, sorry, I was just being the game.
Oh, no worries. So, GG's. First off, GG's.
GG.
Good games.
So, I mean, we're gonna start with the obvious. The obvious here. You are aware that you're now I believe, the only person to have successfully used a bufferless HSS skip in a run. So, I mean, I know you were practicing it. I saw you stream it for like 2 hours plus a couple days ago. So how do you feel about getting it? That's so many. It's so much practice. So I mean, first off, how do you feel about the run? But in particular, you're getting the bufferless HSS skip in the run. How do you feel about everything that went down?
Well, I'm happy with the run. There were a couple of jumps that I was kind of frustrated that I didn't get. Just, you know, just as it is what it is. But a lot of stuff I was also really happy about. Honestly, like I'm really happy with the run. There's a lot of roughness, but kind of like for the time that I had and for everything, like honestly, can't complain about anything. And I guess in regards to HSS skip, I don't know. I never properly learned the buffer method. And when I tried to learn the buffer method, like I spent a little bit of time trying to do it because in general, I like to learn multiple strats or have backups to strats if I can. Or like multiple visual cues or whichever in whichever game I play. But for HSS, I was trying to do buffer and I'm like this is like harder than trying to do a bufferless. I mean, like I could just go ahead and try and time it. And obviously I didn't, you know, get it anywhere near first try. But I mean, for the amount of pardon?
In our hearts.
First try in our hearts.
Well, yeah, it's. I do feel it's practical, but it'll still take a lot of work. Like obviously coming from A Link to the Past, if people are familiar with me, like I do stuff like cactus dashes, during my runs, and things like that. It's like says like 4:10 frames, but the risk reward is very skewed. But I go for it in runs because you know there's a certain thrill to try and do a trick that you really personally enjoy, even if it's not necessarily the most advantageous, or at least on paper. But yeah, no. Last night, like a couple of people know, so this is my third completed run. So it's for the end game in particular. It's kind of a little bit more sketchy. I just kind of panicked and I'm like, I don't know what's going on with my minecart situation. And the route I tried was like I didn't actually get time to practice it. I thought it'd be more straightforward, and then just kind of like panic, and I couldn't really reconcile it. I'm like, oh, well, it's no problem. Like I can soon quit and already activate the switch. And I didn't really realize it'd be quite that long to get back. I probably would have fumbled around a little bit longer had I been fully aware. Yeah, third full completed run. So like again, like I've you know, even if there are minor gripes, like I have no complaints whatsoever. Really enjoy the game. Really want to put a lot more work into it. I was looking forward to today's race. I kind of wish it would have been like put off a little bit longer, more time, but it's still a lot of fun. So I hope everyone at least had fun watching. And it's definitely not the end of the game for me whatsoever.
I mean, I think I'm gonna speak for all of Twitch chat, which is totally something that's I should do and say that I think that doing the bufferless HSS skip made everything worth watching regardless. It's a lot of very, very hype thing to see, especially in a tournament match. So I think everyone was very impressed, and with it's not, you know, it's good. One, it's good to hear that you're still interested in learning, or not learning, but practicing and getting better at the game despite tournament run maybe or being over for you. Yeah, I think just that alone is enough to win over the crowd at any point.
Thank you. Yeah, like I like tournaments because they're a good excuse to like learn the game or to like have that kind of community building. So like when I talked to JC forever ago and you know, other people regarding the tournament and the tournament farming, I was pretty excited. This is a game that I played when I was a kid, very much enjoyed it, and it was always like in my radar to do a run. But with the tournament, it's kind of like, okay, well, it's a good excuse to push it, you know, forward and to try and go for it. So it was very nice. Unfortunately, I didn't have, again, the time that I was hoping for it. But, you know, it's okay. Like, I can still, you know, can't expect the world. And I'm very happy with everything. And, you know, no regrets whatsoever. And I guess just in terms of, like, the end strategy in regards to HSS skip, obviously I didn't get it first try. I'm very humbled and flattered that people appreciate it. My only real strategy going into it was, well, if it stays 4.5 minutes, then I guess even if it takes me 4.5 minutes to do, it's still better than not doing it. And even if I fail it once or twice, it's still practice that goes towards getting better at it, even just in a small chunk. So that was the mindset I had going into it. I'm very glad I hit the button as a backup. Had I not, though, I probably wouldn't have reset. So maybe it was actually not good. But I mean, you know, again, just very happy, and that was kind of my mindset going into it. There's still a lot of practice needed to be done because, you know, you can't just waste tons of time to do the skip. But no, very fun. Bomb jumps, something I really enjoy in Zelda games, coming from Link to the Past, like just the walking bomb jumps. So even before I ran the game, HSS skip was like the one thing that really excited me about the game. That was what I want to learn, and I still haven't put in nearly the amount of time I want to learn to it. But this is like, I don't know, like neurotic with some tricks. So fun. Just practicing is almost funner than running the game in a way. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, just kind of how I am.
Well, in that case, I think that moving forward, I think everyone will be more than excited to see more runs that include the bufferless HSS skip, and we'll see if maybe some of the more old school runners or players that have been running the game for a long time potentially see your feat here as a challenge to overcome for themselves and decide that they want to start doing bufferless HSS skip. So we could see.
That'd be really cool.
I would not be surprised to see at least a couple runners attempting it in runs now that it's been done in a tournament, and it was done very quick. I know you're disappointed not getting it first or second try, but getting it without having to do it without doing a reset at all is still very, very impressive, particularly because it is your third completed run.
Yeah, I was worried about my resource count, so actually, had I failed that, I was thinking, okay, maybe I should just do the reset, make my way back there, just because so many seeds and everything. But again, there is some unfamiliarity there, but yeah, again, just very happy. Inspiring competition, wonderful thing. My philosophy has kind of always been that I want to not undersell myself or undercut myself. I'd rather go for the thing that's harder or seems a little bit out of reach, and then kind of tone down and go from there, right? So like there was a jump or two that I didn't go for because I'm like, well, I just don't think in terms of time and how I've been playing and everything, I should go for it. But, you know, I do worry that sometimes people might be too quick to write something off. And it's kind of like, you know, working a muscle, right? Like if you never up that weight, then you're not really going to build it. And you can only find out if it's too much until, you know, you try it and work with it, right? So that's kind of been my approach, and then I dial back and change. But yeah, no, competition, more people running the game, trying different things, you know, just to at least try. No, yeah, very happy. And no, definitely, I already want to do another run, but I've been eating today, so.
Well, I mean, in that case, I think that is a good place to wrap up everything on. Stanner, Dory, anything else you'd like to say at the end of this before we part ways?
Yeah, GG to Gesellschaft, and was a fun race, even though my run was super bad.
It's okay, and yeah, GG's most certainly. Going into it, I was like, oh great, he took bomb seed. He's basically like world record in ages. Like, my bracket is screwed. Like, I was looking at the bracket like, oh my goodness, this is kind of awful. And then I saw yours and like, well, maybe there is some hope. But then I was like, well, maybe he like went to the dungeon, did some like, you know, mountain hermit training and tighten things up. Because obviously you'd have fundamentals coming from ages. So I knew that you had that going for you, and then just, you know, general familiarity, you know, would carry you a long way. So I wasn't really sure, but I don't know. I didn't want to make myself sick trying to get too ready for the match. I just, you know, try to put in strong effort and see where it went. And so yeah, most certainly GG's. It was a lot of fun.
Well, with that being said, I hope all of you enjoyed your time here. You can follow the runners there. You can find me here. I've been Phenomenon. A big GG's again to Stanner and Gesellschaft for an excellent race, a very exciting end to this match that I don't think anyone quite expected, but was more than happy to be surprised by. And we look forward to seeing you for our next round of seasons. None of our games have been scheduled quite yet, but as they get updated, you can check the Speed Gaming schedule. Just typing !schedule in any of the Speed Gaming chats in order to see when they will be live. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you've all enjoyed an excellent game, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your days. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.